At first, nothing about this interview seemed unusual. The suspect was calm, polite, almost helpful. He sat comfortably in the interrogation chair, hands folded neatly in front of him, answering questions without hesitation. But detectives weren't focused on what he was saying. They were watching how easily he said it, and one subtle change, barely noticeable, was all it took for them to realize something was very wrong. Just after 6:40 a.m., police received a call reporting a missing person. 28-year-old Emily Carter hadn't shown up for work. Her phone went straight to voicemail. Her car was still parked outside her apartment. Friends said this wasn't like her. Officers arrived at the apartment complex to conduct a welfare check. There were no signs of forced entry. Nothing appeared disturbed. But Emily was gone. That's when detectives began building a list of people who last saw her. One name came up almost immediately: Daniel Brooks. Daniel Brooks arrived at the police station on his own. He wasn't summoned. He wasn't escorted. He volunteered. That alone made an impression. He explained that he and Emily had dated briefly. They had remained friends. According to him, the last time he saw her was 2 nights earlier. He said the evening was uneventful. Dinner, conversation, a normal goodbye. Nothing about his demeanor suggested panic. His posture was relaxed, his voice steady. This is what detectives call a clean baseline. And at first, Daniel's baseline looked solid. Early in the interview, detectives asked neutral questions: where he worked, how long he'd lived in the area, what his relationship with Emily was like. Daniel answered smoothly. He maintained eye contact. His breathing stayed consistent. No visible stress. To an untrained eye, he looked cooperative, maybe even innocent. But detectives weren't convinced yet. They needed to hear the story more than once. When asked to describe the night he last saw Emily, Daniel delivered a detailed account. Too detailed. He remembered exact times, exact phrases, even the position of furniture in the room. That kind of precision isn't impossible, but it's uncommon. Real memories are messy. They contain gaps. Daniel's story didn't. Still, detectives didn't challenge him. They let him talk. Because people who feel safe tend to reveal more than they intend to. Then a detective asked a simple question: when was the last time you heard from Emily after that night? Daniel answered immediately: Tuesday morning. No pause, no thought, but something about the answer stood out. Earlier, Daniel had carefully thought through every response. Now, his certainty appeared instantly. That inconsistency mattered. The detective followed up. What did she say? Daniel hesitated, just slightly. Then he paraphrased. That hesitation was the first crack. Detectives circled back to the timeline. They asked Daniel to explain the same events again, this time in reverse order. His tone changed. He corrected himself, then corrected himself again. Small details shifted. Times moved slightly. Statements became less specific. And then it happened. Daniel used a phrase Emily's co-workers said she always used. A phrase detectives had never mentioned. Daniel immediately stopped speaking. For the first time, he looked down. This was the moment detectives realized he was lying. Not because of evidence, not because of an accusation, but because Daniel tried to backtrack. He explained the phrase away, claimed he'd heard it before, said it didn't mean anything. But his breathing had changed. His shoulders tightened. Earlier, his confidence felt natural. Now it felt defensive. Detectives didn't interrupt. They stayed silent. And Daniel kept talking. Silence is uncomfortable, especially for someone trying to maintain control. Daniel began filling the gaps, explaining motives no one asked about, clarifying emotions no one questioned. Each sentence created a new inconsistency. The story was no longer stable, and detectives knew they didn't need a confession. They needed confirmation. Finally, Daniel leaned back in his chair. I think I should get a lawyer, he said. The interview ended shortly after, but the investigation didn't, because the most important part was already over. Daniel had revealed himself. Later that week, surveillance footage placed Daniel near Emily's apartment long after he claimed to have left. Digital records contradicted his timeline, and eventually, evidence led detectives to a remote area outside the city. Emily was found there. The story Daniel told detectives had collapsed under its own weight. Daniel didn't confess. He didn't scream or panic. He didn't run. He believed calmness would protect him. But interrogations aren't about confidence. They're about consistency. And the moment Daniel's behavior stopped matching his words, detectives knew the truth. This is a real true crime style story. And this is Real True Crime Stories Official.